So let's maybe move then beyond just the classroom itself. And Cal, I'd love like first person reflection of what's going on at Georgetown University as a proxy. How is AI affecting other work streams at the university that you've observed? And are you surprised with, how it has or hasn't been applied on campus so far?
I would say, as far as I know, it's not having a big out of classroom impact. I don't think as an organization, we're using it heavily outside the classroom. Inside the classroom, something Georgetown is doing, which I think is smart, and this is what this task force I was on did, was they said, we're going to make a bunch of money available. If you're a professor and you want to mess around with this, like you want to try an experiment with, like, I want to use AI in some interesting way in my classroom, we'll give you money to do that. Like you need to hire someone to build a model. You want some summer salary so you can work out something new. So it's definitely let's get ideas. Like this is a time to get ideas. I haven't seen a big out of classroom impact. In classroom impact, it's there, right? I mean, it depends on what you're teaching. I mean, I teach, for example, discrete mathematics for computer science majors. So it's sort of like an introductory discrete mathematics course. That's pretty AI solvable. Like it is changing the way I'm thinking about it. I don't have evidence that like most of my students are doing this on AI. These are Georgetown students. They want to learn it and they follow rules or whatever. But it's certainly, for example, I have to think a lot about that. I was for a while post-pandemic, like, hey, this is great. Why do we all have to gather to do exams? Like the way we did it during the pandemic is really good because you can do them from the library at home and we'll all log into Zoom together to hear questions. But now like it's much easier to deal with accommodations. And if it's at the end of the semester and you're traveling, and I realized like, oh, I can't post ChatGPT. Is like, no, we got to be in the same room because you can I just put all my exam questions in the ChatGPT and I said, uh-oh. It did a little bit too well. So I think there's classroom impacts, not that I know of, at least not a ton of back office impacts yet.
Well, okay, so not yet, but we know, for example, that I know you probably as a faculty member, there's all these things you have to fill out and grant work. And there's just a lot of work as a faculty member that kind of takes away from classroom and research, I would imagine. There's a lot of administrative work happening on campus outside of the faculty, of course. Most colleges and universities are having trouble hiring people right now to do a lot of that work. I'm not expecting you to know everything about how a university operates, but could you imagine that there's stuff that we could leverage AI for that's potentially being overlooked right now? Or again, is that something we just don't quite know yet?
I think it's 2 years out.
Okay.
I see what I'm waiting for. I don't think the chat interface, web-based chat interface, is the right form factor. But what I'm waiting for and what's being worked on is probably going to be voice interface. Right, we talk at a much faster rate than we can type. Right, that's a much more richer information stream, and critical. And this is like the point I've been arguing, which I don't think has been being picked up enough. Like where I think language models are really going to be powerful is when they are then interacting with other types of systems as well. Right, so like what a language model can do is take what you said, and it can then translate that into a very specific language that like another program could understand. Right. That's where they're really powerful. That's how you begin when you see these plugins, for example, where, ChatGPT can work with your Excel spreadsheet or book a flight for you or whatever. What's really happening here is it's taking what you said, it's translating it to a very stylized language, which then is passed on to another program that doesn't now have to understand human language. It's getting like a really rigorously formatted request, and then it can act on that, and then it can explain back to you what happened. I think voice interface, multi-application, where, I can be saying the way I imagine it, like my use cases in my mind, where I can say like, okay, we're working on a syllabus here, create a new Canvas page. I want it to be similar to that page over there. Okay, go copy over the page from the last time I offered this course. All right, I want you to adjust everywhere it says, when I'm just voice interfacing, and this is going across multiple applications, that's when I think we're going to begin to see like the first big productivity booms. It's exactly what they're working on, but I think it's like a year out for good prototypes, 2 years out till it's ubiquitous. Like we're 2 years out from a form factor, which, by the way, this is partially why I say there's not a lot to teach people about this right now. Right, the things that the technologies that have been most disruptive in the past 30 years have required on average like 17 seconds to learn. Right, email. I wrote a whole book about email. email was incredibly disruptive. It changed the entire rhythm of how work unfolded in a way that actually had a lot of negative externalities. It spread like wildfire because it was incredibly intuitive. I put the address I want to talk to where it says to, and then I write what I want to say, and I hit send, right? I didn't have to learn about it. Google is the same thing, right? This is so intuitive. I don't need to be trained how to use Google, and it really had a big impact. That's probably where I think the high impact tools are going to be with AI is you're not going to need a intro computer science class to use it. The reason why they're going to be so impactful is that it's like using Google or email. It takes you 9 seconds and you get it.